This Mercedes E-Class came in with a complaint that can leave you stranded without warning. The car starts normally, everything looks fine, but the shifter refuses to engage and the car stays stuck in park. Then once in a while, it suddenly works again like nothing happened. This had already happened to the owner a few times before the car finally made its way to our garage. We hooked up the scanner and it showed fault code U142000, implausible signal from the electronic selector lever module. That tells us the issue isn't in the transmission itself, but in the selector module that sends the gear command. In modern Mercedes cars, the gear lever isn't mechanically connected to the transmission. It works on a shift by wire system. When you move the lever, the selector module sends a request through the vehicle's network to the transmission control module, which then engages the gear electronically. When everything is working properly, the system feels smooth and seamless. But when the selector module starts failing, the signal becomes inconsistent. The transmission control module detects that the signal is implausible and blocks the gear change for safety. From the driver's seat, it may look like the transmission has failed, but in reality, the gearbox is simply waiting for a signal it can trust. What makes this problem frustrating is how it develops. It usually starts intermittently. One day the car shifts normally, another day it refuses to go into drive, then it works again. Over time, this becomes more frequent until one day the selector stops responding completely. The engine starts, everything looks normal, but the car stays locked in park and you're not going anywhere. These modules aren't designed to fail after a fixed number of shifts. In most cases, it's just age and operating conditions. Inside the unit are sensors and electronic circuits exposed to years of heat, vibration, and constant use. Over time, the signals become unstable, and once the transmission control module no longer trusts the signal, it disables shifting. What makes this a bit ironic is that earlier pre-facelift W212 models used a simple gear lever setup with fewer electronics. It wasn't fancy, but it was straightforward and dependable. Modern cars moved to shift by wire because it reduces mechanical linkages, improves packaging, and integrates better with safety systems and software. From an engineering point of view, it makes sense. But as these cars age, the downside becomes very real. And here's the frustrating part. There's no shortcut repair for this. The selector module is a sealed unit and can't be reliably repaired. The entire module has to be replaced and programmed. Imagine you're on a road trip with your family. You stop for lunch, come back, start the car, and the gear won't engage. The engine runs perfectly, everything looks normal, but the car simply won't move. At that point, you need a tow truck. This isn't something a roadside garage can fix. The car has to be towed, diagnosed properly, and you often end up waiting days for the replacement part. And that brings us to the final part. The fix itself is simple. The selector module has to be replaced. But here's a catch. The part alone costs 95,500 rupees plus labor charges. Not for a transmission rebuild, not for a major mechanical component, just for the electronic interface that tells the transmission which gear you want. And that really sums up modern luxury cars. More convenience, more technology, but also more complexity. And sometimes that complexity comes at a very real price.